Hey there, friends, and welcome to episode 290 of Just the Zoo of Us. This week, I am joined by a veterinarian and rabbit parent for an expose, really, on rabbits and the secret horrors that they are hiding underneath all that adorable fluff. We discuss biological warfare on an ecological menace, self-sharpening glass crunchers, eating poop, outie butts, flirting with pee, tearaway hair. This truly eye-opening episode will forever change how you see those sweet little faces and little cotton ball tails. Just the Zoo of Us presents Rabbits with Zoe Feigen. Hello, everybody. This is Ellen Weatherford with Just the Zoo of Us, your favorite animal review podcast. This week, I am so excited to have a brand new friend here to talk about a really adorable, sweet, and cuddly and fantastic animal that I'm very excited to talk about. This is Zoe Feigen. Say hi, Zoe.
Hello. I'm so excited to completely ruin all of those impressions of my animal.
Ruin me.
Yeah.
Completely wreck my whole shop. I am so excited. Because a lot of times we come to make people like gross animals more, right? Yeah. We'll be like, oh, if you didn't like, I don't know, bats and sharks and stuff, let's win you over and make you think this animal is cute and nice. Yeah. But today we're going the opposite direction.
Look, cute, definitely. But they are grumpy, aggressive little monsters, and I love them.
Very excited to talk about these with you. Zoe, what are your pronouns real quick?
They, them.
Thank you so much. And what has brought you into the world of rabbits? How did you arrive here?
My uncle got a 2-for-1 deal when I was 4, and he essentially, functionally, because the problem is with pet rabbits is that they are always seen as cheap pets for kids.
Not the BOGO rabbits.
Yeah, really.
Not the BOGO live animal.
Really good. So he bought a hutch which came with 2 rabbits, and they only wanted 1. So my family ended up with the other one, and it was one of those things where I looked at this tiny little ball of fluff, and my tiny 4-year-old autistic brain went, "This is the only thing I care about forever now.
This is my personality.
Yeah,
this is who I am.
This is the everything for me." And he had some health issues. He was relatively young and stuff like that. And it was the early 90s. And vet care has come a really long way. But this was back in the days before regular internet and stuff like that. So my local GP vets were getting phone cards and calling on international landline phones to call other vets overseas to see how they were managing these health conditions and stuff like that. And, eventually he developed a condition which gets called head tilt, which is just balance issues and stuff like that. And they were like, look, this is really common in rabbits and we don't really know how to manage it super well. And we had to, say goodbye to him at that stage. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to become a vet and I'm going to cure head tilt in rabbits, which is not technically a specific thing. So it's not technically something I can do, but we're really good at managing it these days. And we know a lot more about it, which is great. But yeah, that kind of just put me on a path to becoming a vet and then ending up falling into exotics vet medicine anyway, primarily working with rabbits and guinea pigs, though I now work with kind of the gamut of exotic species as they're defined in Australia and stuff like that. We have a lot less exotic pets than you guys have overseas. So we do not have tigers and lynxes and all of those sorts of things. We only have native reptiles legally. Victoria has a lot of native mammals that you can keep, like sugar gliders that you have over in the US as well. But for the most of Australia, the 5 species of exotic classed mammals are rabbits, guinea pigs, rats, mice, and ferrets. So it's a much smaller pool than what you have in places with chinchillas and gerbils and hamsters and hedgehogs and stuff. That's it. I now live in Victoria in Australia, where you can keep a saltwater crocodile legally on a $300 license, and that's insane to me.
Yeah, when I worked at a pet store one night, a couple of dudes came in and this guy was looking at our fish tanks. He was looking at our biggest one that was like 120 gallons.
Yeah.
And he was like, "Do you have anything bigger than this?" And I was like, "I don't think so. Why?" And he's like, "What size tank do you think we would need for an alligator?" And I was like, "None of the above."
The Florida Everglades is the best tank size for an alligator. Please leave it there.
I was like, "I don't think you're allowed to do that.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure you're not allowed. And why would you want to anyway? I mean, bro, if you like look around, there's probably one nearby.
Yeah.
Like, you don't need to have it in the house.
Enjoy it out there.
It's already
fine.
there."
Yeah.
It's like wanting a pet like pigeon or something.
Yeah.
But so I was like, "You cannot, I'm pretty sure you should not do that." And then he was like, oh, sorry, I meant a really big turtle.
Cool.
And I was like, "Get out of here. What are you doing?
Perfect.
Go home."
Incredibly believable. Yeah, a really big turtle, like an alligator snapping turtle. You also don't have tanks big enough for that.
The deception check abysmally failed. That was a
Incredibly
nat
bad,
one.
Yeah. Yep. And Australia is similar to Florida in that, like, we have just an incredibly high capacity for any reptiles to just establish here. So we generally have fairly tight controls on herps that you can keep as pets and stuff like that. But I don't know. I think it's because it's too cold down here through the winter and stuff like that. You wouldn't be able to establish saltwater crocodiles down here. But you also probably shouldn't be letting people keep them as pets. They're really big and clever and long-lived.
That's maybe an at a distance friend.
Yeah, very much.
That's a
so.
long distance friend, I think.
Very much so.
That's not a roommate situation, I don't think. But I did want to ask, as an Australian, what is the relationship like between Australians and rabbits? Are rabbits, typically seen as cute and cuddly little friends, or is this like a pest situation?
It's a complex situation because they are most definitely a pest situation. There were a couple of popular media articles just this week talking about we've had quite a few kind of like wet summers the last couple of years. So we're probably up for a rabbit plague explosion. We've had mouse plagues for the last couple of years and stuff like that. We're probably going to have a big spike in the rabbit population as well. They've been here since the 1800s. The ones that are here are all due to one man called Thomas Austin.
Menace.
And the reason that I personally will never travel in time is because there's no news articles about a short blue-haired person coming out of nowhere and absolutely decking that man. Because he released 24 wild European domestic hybrids in Geelong in the 1800s because he was like, oh, it will bring a spot of home and we can hunt them. And
this blows my mind. We've heard this story so many times, like so many animals that like colonists would just be like, we're just going to release this wild animal here because it's cute and we like it.
Yeah, because in America, there was the whole move to like release all of the birds that were mentioned in Shakespeare. They were like, they were mentioned in Shakespeare, so we can't possibly live anywhere without them. And now you have massive, like, starling problems and stuff. He also did a lot of that here. He released a bunch of birds as well. But, like, in the space of, like, 10 years, there were, like, millions of them. And they did a genomics study not too long ago and found that they're all descended from his rabbits. So they're all very inbred. But, like, they are all descended from this group of 24 rabbits that he introduced like an absolute jerk.
Patient zero. This man was a menace.
Currently, there are 200 million of them in Australia. And the numbers I was looking up were they do $200 million in agricultural damage a year. So every bun you see out there running wild is doing $1 worth of damage every year. But absolutely, like, untold environmental destruction. Yeah, they're bad for a lot of agriculture and stuff like that, which means that we have a very big kind of agricultural lobby, even in, like, the veterinary industry and everything like that. There's a lot of pull for, like, we're the country that was built on the sheep's back and, like, they cause soil erosion that gets into the fleeces of sheep and messes up your wool quality and stuff. So aside from everything else they do. So there's a very strong kind of lobby that, to be honest, conspiracy theories, the vet organizations are a little bit under more pressure from that side of the veterinary industry and the industry generally than people who keep rabbits as pets to be much more kind of, yes, no, let's keep releasing population control viruses and stuff like that. It's really hard for us to get vaccinations for keeping our pets safe because they're using these viruses and stuff like that, which is super understandable. I understand because I love our wildlife. It's incredible, and we really do need a way to stop the damage that rabbits do. But I just really like to stop my patients from getting myxomatosis.
Right.
It would be really nice. We have a calicivirus vaccination, and we now have a better calicivirus vaccination in the last couple of years, but there's been myxo vaccines overseas for years and years and years, and they just won't let us have it.
I guess you do have to be in an odd position where you have to both advocate for the pets while also confronting the damage that they're doing to the ecosystem. Although I feel a lot of that when I think about like my cat, right?
Yes, yeah, very much so. Yeah. Queensland's attempt, which is our most northern state, their attempt to keep down their wild populations of rabbits is that you are not allowed to keep pet rabbits in Queensland, and it is like, I think the last time I looked it up, it was like a $40,000 fine. It's huge.
Oof.
There are some illegal rabbits.
They're making up those $1 per rabbit losses.
Basically, yeah. There are some illegal rabbits up in Queensland who are technically long-eared guinea pigs. They just get relabeled. But it's also the sort of thing where, like, most responsible rabbit owners in Australia would say, if I have to register my pet with the council and stuff like that, if I have to vaccinate them, if I have to go to an exotics vet to, manage their health, if I have to microchip them and I have to like prove that they're indoor only animals and desex them, please let me have this vaccine or let me keep this animal in this area. I would personally be willing to have my animals licensed the way you would license like dangerous reptiles that you can keep as pets here, where you have to like send picture proof of how you're keeping them and stuff like that to the council to keep up your licensing and stuff. And I think a lot of people who have dealt with like some of the really nasty effects of the viruses, even though they keep their rabbits indoors and they are up to date with all their health care and all of that sort of stuff, and they've done all the right things, would be super willing to do those sorts of things to be able to like keep their pets safe.
Now, I'm not a vet, so I do have to ask, because you've mentioned this a couple times and I don't fully know what you're talking about.
That's okay.
What is the virus you're mentioning? Is this like a virus that's being like released on purpose?
There's 2 viruses in Australia that were released to control the wild population. So like we have 200 million wild rabbits now. That is nowhere near how many wild rabbits we used to have. It has been very, 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 very high in the past. In the 60s, they released a virus called myxomatosis, which for the European rabbit, which is the species that we have here and which all of our domestic rabbits descend from, it causes kind of like when COVID first started and there were the alpha strains and there were those like cytokine cascades where like young healthy people would like absolutely their immune system would just lose it and fill their lungs with fluid and they would have a really horrible, horrible time. Myxomatosis kind of works like that with European rabbits. The cottontail rabbits over in America, who are not super closely related, can actually get it, but they tend to get the viruses named for myxomas, which is like these little skin lesions that they get, that they actually need to, that's what sheds the virus, the skin lesions. So the bugs that spread it have to bite the skin lesion, and they tend to show that more typically and not get the like respiratory signs. But our guys just absolutely everything swells up and they drown.
Oh,
yeah,
poor thing.
It's a really nasty, horrible, horrible virus. And then, of course, I think it was like 90% of the population died off. And then they adapted really, really, really quickly to it and were back up to the same sort of numbers. And in the 90s, they released calicivirus, or rabbit hemorrhagic disease virus. I think they've tried to rebrand it in most of the world and it just hasn't caught on with Australians because we've always called it calicivirus.
Is this the real life official name is Khaleesi, like Game of Thrones Khaleesi?
It's with a C, but it was very, very grimly funny when a lot of people started calling their rabbits Khaleesi out of Game of Thrones and stuff like that, and I was like, you can't call them that, man.
Don't.
It's similar.
Also, did you finish the show?
Yeah.
Did you?
No, it was before that. But it's similar to how we call coronavirus. It's the family of viruses. So Khaleesi virus is one of the main cat flu viruses, is also a Khaleesi virus, but specifically the one that it causes hemorrhages. It's a nasty bleeding virus, and it is much faster than Mixo, but it also has a lot of like resistance in the wild population and stuff. And we do fortunately have a vaccine for that. It's actually spreading across the US now. Specifically RHDV2, which is a newer mutant kind of strain. I think we have different RHDV2s, similar to having different like bird flu strains and stuff. But it's the sort of thing that I kind of sit here and watch with some concern, because America has an incredible biodiversity of lagomorphs, and a lot of them are quite endangered. And I'd really, really hate if Khaleesi virus affected them, because it would just be pretty messed up.
Not our pikas.
No.
I like them very much.
No. Well, our hares aren't really affected by it like our rabbits are. And
so maybe.
Yeah, potentially.
Maybe be safe from it.
But yeah, it's still definitely a risk. And it's a risk with domestic rabbits as well. If you have domestic rabbits in the US and you can get access to it, vaccinate your rabbits, because it's going to become more of a problem the more time goes on and stuff like that. And it just hasn't been a routine thing that you do in the US. But I'm pretty sure that they have some good vaccines over there now.
Can we zoom in on this word lagomorph?
Yes.
Because for some people listening, this might be your first time hearing this word. I realize now, I think we've only talked about one lagomorph on this whole entire podcast.
You talked about pikas way back in the day.
1,000,000 years ago. And I'm so surprised. This is one of those things where I'm like, we've done we're coming up on 300 episodes. How have we not talked about rabbits?
Yeah.
They're rabbits. Everybody knows rabbits.
Well, it's kind of one of those things, because they're also not very well studied, particularly European rabbits, who are the rabbits that we think about. That's it. I say that, and I forget that Americans exist. So if you walk out on your street, you see cottontails if you're looking at rabbits. Yes. Or if you live somewhere fun, you see some incredibly cursed giant freak creatures that are like your jackrabbits and stuff like that, who are technically hares.
The eldritch monsters.
Incredibly eldritch monsters who are just amazing. But yeah, lagomorphs are split into your ocodontids. That's all the pikas, of which there are a surprising amount. And then leporids, who are your more they're your rabbits and hares. If someone says rabbit, you've got the basic shape of it. Lagomorph means shaped like a hare,
which is great. They're you can tell because it's the way that
it's the way the hair looks. All of the names particularly within Leporidae, is they're delightfully recursive, because lagus is hair in Greek and lepus is hair in Latin. So leporids are the family of the things that look like hairs. So
what's a hare? It's the thing that looks like a hare.
Yeah, and then they're broken down into a bunch of genuses, one of which is the lepus genus, which is the hares, and then all of the others, which are all named something hare. So it's stuff like your cottontails over in America are silvilagus, which is forest hare.
I have been seeing, especially since I moved up to Washington, where there aren't gators lurking around every corner, I've been seeing lots of bunnies.
Yes.
It's springtime. I am delighted. It's every day I see a little bunny.
Yeah.
It's so cute.
They're so cute. They're so cute. And they're a really, really weird group. We thought that they were rodents for a really long time.
That would have been my first guess.
Yeah. And aside from their phylogeny and stuff like that, the kind of DNA research that we've done and stuff, they have a couple of features that rodents don't have. The main one being that they have an extra set of incisors behind their main incisors. So we always think of them as the rabbit buck teeth and stuff like that. Technically behind the buck teeth are another set of teeny tiny little teeth called the peg teeth that a lot of things, and this is the case in a lot of rabbit things, we don't really know what they do. They sort of they fit around the bottom incisors so that they're shaving them into a really sharp point and stuff, because All
Oh,
lagomorphs,
I
all
see.
of their teeth grow constantly.
It's like having built-in like knife sharpeners
Basically,
in the
yeah, that's
mouth.
kind of the apparatus of the peg tooth there. And domestic rabbits, on average, their teeth grow 12 centimeters a year, each of their teeth. So, like, it's a
Jeez.
lot of tooth to be growing.
Do you ever see rabbits that like their teeth aren't getting ground down right and they just
Yeah.
have like massive saber tooth
Yeah, you
like
do get some
moments?
pretty funky malocclusion. Actually, I usually, because I pick them up at the clinic when I trim them and stuff like that, and then put them in pockets, and then they end up in my washing machine, and then I pick them out of the washing machine and put them in another pocket. I don't have any rabbit teeth in the pants I'm currently wearing, but I often do. I definitely did yesterday in my new clean pants that I put on.
A saber-toothed rabbit is a cool mental
Yeah,
image.
it wouldn't be as functional because they really need to, they don't have canines, so they're missing those kind of like hold and pierce teeth. So they're very much incisors for cutting, back teeth for grinding everything up like a paper shredder, essentially. And their teeth kind of have little cusps that fit in together so that they are basically working like a paper shredder to just like eat all the forage that they eat.
For all of your confidential Timothy hay and
Yeah,
alfalfa.
100%. Yeah, very much so. Just feed it straight into the wood chipper.
Now, anyone who has ever like fed a rabbit knows that this is very fun.
It feels like a paper shredder. It's very, very good.
When I was a kid, I was in 6th grade, and my science teacher had a pet rabbit named Petunia
That's
that
very
she
good.
kept in the classroom.
Yeah.
She kept it at home, but she would bring the rabbit to work with her,
Yeah.
and the rabbit would just kind of free roam the classroom during the day.
That's so good.
And normally the rabbit like stayed like, you know, underneath her desk because she had a little bed
Yeah.
that the rabbit liked to stay in. But sometimes I would be like, you know, just sitting doing a worksheet or something like that, and I would start to feel like a tugging
Yeah.
on my shoe.
Yep.
And I look down and my entire shoelace is in this rabbit's mouth.
Yeah, that sounds
Just
about
looking
right.
up at me.
Yeah, they're really chaotic little creatures because they're in the wild, they're very much kind of dominated by the fact that they are prey animals. And as soon as you kind of bring them into your home and say, no, you're safe, you don't have to be afraid of everything, they become megalomaniacs and they're like, oh, I'm God, I'll fight a car.
I'm mad with power.
Absolutely. And they're in charge of everything and they will do whatever they want with everything. And the things that they do in the wild are kind of destructive to achieve their means. So they can be an absolute nuisance in your home. But I think it's very funny.
They're like, I finally did it. I evolved immortality.
Yes, yeah. No one can get me. I'll fight this cat. And you're like, oh, that cat is really big, but okay. So, yeah.
And now the size of the attitude and
Yeah.
perhaps the audacity, sometimes it is and sometimes it isn't, you know, mismatched with these sort of physical attributes to back it up,
Yeah.
right? Like if you're going to be talking a big game,
Yeah.
you gotta follow
gotta
through. You gotta
bring
have
it.
some tools in the kit.
Yeah.
So for anyone who, if this is anyone's first time listening to this podcast, we rate animals out of 10. And the first category is effectiveness. This is attributes, traits built into the animal's body, things that let it do a good job of the things it's trying to do, such as not become prey for larger animals. So Zoe, what do you give rabbits out of 10 for effectiveness?
I really do think that effectiveness is kind of like their peak category here, aside from the fact that they're adorable, but that's spoilers. They're really a 10 out of 10 for effectiveness.
They have some exaggerated features.
Really,
too.
really very much. And like, I think that if we're talking a D&D game and everything like that, they cheated on their character sheet and no one noticed because all of their senses are really, really good. They've got excellent hearing. They're known for their like fantastic hearing, like those big ears that are capable of funneling sound and everything like that. Fantastic directional hearing. Jackrabbits particularly, they have the biggest proportional ears, and like all of your hair's incredible, like ridiculous ears, but even your like little rabbits and stuff like that have phenomenal hearing. Like they'll be paying attention to tiny little sounds and rotating their ears to like pinpoint things.
They can hear you talking trash about them from like 3 rooms over.
They can hear you talking trash about them. They also can definitely hear you like giving them instructions, and then they choose to ignore them, which is great. A lot of people come into the clinic and they're like, I think my rabbit is deaf. And I'm like, I don't think your rabbit is deaf. I think they're ignoring you. And
which is worse.
It's-
You
yeah.
have a worse problem.
oh, it's definitely worse. Domestic like lop rabbits and stuff like that, do have much more compromised hearing because we've bred them to be cute. So they have folded ear canals, and it's kind of like sticking your fingers in the ear, in your ears, and trying to hear through that. So it's not so great, but your rabbit body plan has got full marks on hearing. Also has high, I would argue, pretty full marks for a prey animal that's not necessarily like focused on kind of movement and stuff like that. It's hard to mark eyes as like a universal thing because everyone's eyes do different things. But like their vision is really, really good. They have an incredibly wide range of vision. They can see basically everywhere except for directly behind their head and directly in front of their head. And actually in lagomorphs generally, there's a correlation between how fast they tend to run and the tilt of their nose angle. So if you look at rodent skulls, they're really, really flat. It's kind of like the top of the skull and the top of the nose are in line. And if you look at piker skulls, they're very similar as well because they tend to be like they're up in the hills and stuff like that. They're not doing like big running sprints. They usually only have to like dart in under something if there's a predator. And the more you look at rabbit species that live out in like open areas, which is where leporids have absolutely shone, they're grass specialists, the more they're like the angle of their nose, the part of their skull in front of their eyes kind of tilts down, which means that when their head is stable and like held at a straight position, the way we hold our heads essentially, their nose has tilted out of the way of their vision so that they actually have better binocular vision in front of it because their nose isn't blocking the view in front. So again, your really high speed hares, your jackrabbits and stuff like that have a much more dramatic kind of angle to how their nose is sitting so that they can basically look over their nose and have better binocular vision so that they have better depth perception while they're running. They don't have to kind of adjust. A lot of rodents and rabbits will still do this as well. When they're sitting places, you'll see them kind of move their head up and down to get a better gauge of how far something is away from them without necessarily needing that crossover that we have from our eyes being in the front of our head and that most predators have, most mammalian predators anyway. But overall, lagomorphs as a family have kind of gone, I don't have time to do that when I'm running away from a predator, so I'm just going to make my nose go down so that it's not in the way of my eyes and I can see where I'm going better.
You know what kind of reminds me of, though, is like an F1 car or like a race car or something having like a slope, you know, like the hood of it will like slope down towards the front versus like, you remember those like Scion cube cars?
Yeah. Even like the really fast planes and stuff that have the like nose cone that goes down as well. So yeah, they look like that. And yeah, they did a study and they found that it absolutely correlates to like how fast they go, which is pretty cool.
I wonder if like aerodynamics are playing into it at all.
Possibly.
Like having like a slope maybe like would make them more aerodynamic, I wonder.
They're weird animals for aerodynamics because they tend to run with their head in quite an upright position as well because their skull actually attaches to their neck in a much more upright position than a lot of other herbivores where it kind of sits from like the back of the skull. So they do sit very upright. But yeah, like aerodynamics wise, they just deal with being fast by like a lot of pushing from the back. They are also like the thing they've specialized in is having like really long legs that run really fast. But yeah, they're good at smelling and they're good at like feeling things with their whiskers.
You are not sneaking up on this dude.
No. And they also like their taste is very acute as well. And they find the bits of the plant that have the most energy in it because they have a preference for sweet tastes, and that tends to be the part of the plant where it's growing or its reproductive parts and everything like that. It's trying to put as much energy into that part of the plant so it has more sugar in there, and that's what rabbits are like programmed to go after. And the other thing that they're programmed to go after, which is really fun, is they also have a preference for bitter tastes, which is most of the anti-herbivorous defenses that plants have. So if you've got parts of the plant that are trying to keep herbivores away, they taste terrible and they have like bitter alkaloids in them and stuff like that. And rabbits are like, no problems, I like eating this too.
Joke's on you, I'm into that.
Basically. So they've just kind of done what we've done with chilies.
Yeah, with like spicy food.
Yeah,
they're like,
basically.
actually, you've made this better.
Yeah, yeah. They also have a lot of defenses against a lot of toxins as well. Like, it's actually a problem in vet management because for regulating heart rates in like emergency situations, we often use a drug called atropine, which just kind of like it helps support cardiac function and everything like that. It's derived from a chemical from deadly nightshade, and about half of rabbits have an enzyme that they just make naturally that breaks down atropine, which means so they can eat deadly nightshade for fun. Hey bro, come see what I can do.
I love evolution so much. They're like, should we just stop eating this horribly deadly plant?
No, I'm gonna eat this.
I'm gonna build into my code, into
absolutely.
my like DNA. I'm gonna specifically program my body.
Yeah, there's no plant I can't eat. I need to make $1 worth of agricultural damage myself.
I've got quotas to hit.
Yeah, I gotta hit that. So I gotta be able to eat everything. Which means we have to use another drug because half the rabbits, we don't know if they have that enzyme, but like half the rabbits we're treating might have that enzyme. So they're just too effective. And we get a lot of calls, particularly like after COVID, where everyone either went down the train of getting into growing indoor plants or getting into making bread. And I got into indoor plants. And a lot of people got into indoor plants.
Choose your starter.
Yeah, exactly. And a lot of indoor plants are toxic to cats and dogs. And we get a lot of calls with people calling up and being like, oh, my rabbit's eaten like a couple of leaves of devil's ivy or monstera or something like that. And I have to be like, yeah, rabbits don't care about the toxins that are in that. The main toxin in that is calcium oxalate, and they excrete that in their urine. They do not care.
You call me when your rabbit ate pure uranium.
Yeah, basically. You call me when your rabbit has eaten more than its body weight in chocolate and it may have a problem, but there's no actual like recorded toxic dose for rabbits for chocolate. Unlike there is one for us, but we haven't found it for rabbits. It's not good for them because it's not great for their gut, which I will get to because that's a big effectiveness thing. But like, yeah, they have high toxic immunity.
I do appreciate the commitment to just like, no, I need all of my options open.
Basically, yeah.
I'm not just gonna not eat something.
Yeah, exactly. And like grass itself is full of silicates as also a defense mechanism. Every blade of grass is filled with tiny, tiny shards of glass.
I don't like
and
that.
Every animal that eats grass just deals with that. That's why they have to have their teeth regenerating and stuff. It's the same in like ruminants and horses and stuff. But yeah.
I don't think I want to know that.
No, it's bad. It's bad to think about. But like, yeah, you think about these extremely adorable fluffy bunnies who are just kind of sitting there and they're chewing glass for a living. They're incredibly metal.
Listen, we've all seen fiberglass.
Yeah.
And thought for a second, like,
yeah.
I take a bite.
Yeah, no, they're just
it.
doing that. They're like, this is fine. Listen to it crunch. I'm gonna just like eat through this glass bottle. It's great. Yeah. Yeah. Grass is also an extremely effective organism, and rabbits just were like, cool, I'm gonna take advantage of that. And they've done it partly by having just incredible teeth that will chew through it and just regenerate at all times, but also by having a really, really, really efficient gut. Their whole digestive system metabolism is based on centering around the cecum, which is this incredible, incredible organ that we have basically evolved away because we decided we would eat fruit and it's easy to digest fruit. But basically your cecum it's an outpocketing of the large intestine. Our appendix is kind of the very end of it. So that's kind of what we've got left. There's probably more cecum in our digestive system that we've always just kind of historically medicine has been like, oh, we don't have this, we don't need to think about it. But the problem is that animals can't break down, with the enzymes we can make, we can't break down plant walls, so the cellulose and stuff like that. So we have to have bacteria and other microbes and stuff like that to live out in our gut to do that efficiently. The most sensible way to do that is to put the bits that digest the plant walls in the top part of your digestive system so that it breaks down all the food you eat, and then that goes through your small intestine, which is what absorbs the nutrients. However, that's not kind of a default state for mammals. So there are mammals that have re-rigged their whole digestive system to do that, and that's like all of your ruminants and your like pseudo-ruminants, and even kangaroos kind of have a pseudo-ruminant system where it's a foregut fermentation system. So cows are your classic situation where they've got like the extra chambers of the stomach that are full of bacteria and break down all their food and stuff like that. That's an incredible thing. I don't know how evolution did that. It was like, I'm just going to re-rig everything. But the default state is to have this cecum that does it and keeps all of your friends. But the cecum comes off the large intestine, which is past the point where you absorb nutrients. So it's a really inefficient place to put it. If you've broken down all of the stuff into useful energy in the part of the digestive system where it's about to fall out your butt.
Oh, there's still some left.
If you want to take advantage of that energy that you've broken down and you've unlocked to a way that your enzymes can actually deal with it, you should probably re-eat that. But lagomorphs have done this really, really cool thing where their cecum is so specialized that it's able to sort the proteins and the fibers that they have in it into indigestible fiber, which comes out just as their little dry poops, which are just like hay confetti, essentially. And these absolutely, if you have to interact with them and you've ever squished one, rank, like high protein, super fun nuggies called cicatrophs that look like a raspberry made of dark chocolate, and they're like shiny glossed and everything like that, and they're shiny, yum yum.
I don't like how welcoming it is.
No,
I don't like it.
Good to look at from a distance. And they are shiny glossed because the shiny gloss is actually a mucus covering, which means that when they re-eat them, they don't actually chew them. They kind of go nom, 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 and just swallow it down.
Like taking a pill. They're
It's
like, no,
bad.
even they know. Even it's a hard sell even for them.
It is. Well, it's not. You watch them do it and they're happy. Like, they can feel a cecal contraction coming on and a cecatroph about to come out, and they bend down, and you watch them do it, and they come up again.
Tying the little bib around there, they're like, ooh.
Yeah, they have this self-satisfied little face, and they're like, nom, 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 and you're like, yeah, I kiss you on the face. Terrible. But as I was saying to my partner, there's a lot less bacteria in that than you'd think, because so long as they do it right and they don't break that mucus covering, the point of that is to protect all the bacteria and like proteins and useful stuff that's in it that needs to be broken down in the small intestine from the stomach, because their stomach's really acidic. So that mucus keeps it all contained and safe until it passes through the stomach, and then their small intestine can absorb it. So if they're eating them properly, when you kiss them on the face, you shouldn't be interacting with any of that stuff. I don't know that I'm still endorsing that, but I have also had rabbits since I was 4, so I may have the rabbit equivalent of brainworms. So for me personally...
You're in too deep.
Yeah, for me personally, I'm very in too deep. And a lot of people, like, very short into owning pet rabbits and stuff like that, you get to the stage where you walk past somewhere where they're pretty good with keeping their poos together. They toilet train really well because it's also a behavioral thing for them. But you kind of walk past an errant poop and you're like, the tray's on the other side of the room. Just huck it over there. The normal poos are the least offensive poos, I think, in the animal kingdom, because they are just like dry pellets of grass. They barely smell. They, very inoffensive. Cicatrophs are pretty bad.
They have both ends of the spectrum.
They really do. They make good poos and they make terrible poos. But it's a system that, like, I haven't found in any other animals in so far as how specialized it is, because you are really wringing every single nutrient out of what you've eaten so that you can basically, like, recycle that back. It's also kind of like it's recycling all of the, like, water in their system so that they don't have to rely on water sources as much. And so that cecal microbiome is really, really, really complex and specialized. And the muscle contractions of the cecum also, it's a really, really tricky, it's the heart of, like, the rabbit as a machine. When it goes wrong, it's pretty tricky to manage. But yeah, they're also the only animals, as far as we know, that manage their calcium absorption through their cecum. Even horses who have, like, cecum does most of their plant digestion, do it in their small intestine. But there's been some recent papers on rabbit calcium metabolism which shows that they're re-eating their teeth. So When they're grinding down those teeth, they're reabsorbing all that calcium, and they're doing that in the cecum. And the cecum has to be really well balanced for how much calcium is in there, because if there's too much, it can kill off the microbiome. So they pull it all out of the digestive system and they excrete a lot of it in their urine. It's a system that's also just like very, very effective for like making sure that you never really build up too much calcium in your system, because if you have it in your digestive system, it's going to like mess with your gut bugs, and you don't want to do that. But yeah, they eat their own teeth. If you supplement them with a different like calcium supplement in their food, it's less metabolizable than if you supplement them with ground up rabbit teeth.
This is an infinite tooth glitch.
It's an infinite tooth glitch, yes, because they use it to make more tooth.
This is cheating.
They're
hack.
really, really
They've
cheating.
enabled hacks.
Yeah, they're cheating in some very cursed ways.
If someone told me, hey, if you swallow one tooth per one,
you'll never
like,
get
say,
osteoporosis.
Swallow like one tooth a week and your bones will be great forever.
Yeah.
I'd be like, at what cost?
Yeah. I mean, the cost is they have to grind them up,
Is it
so they
worth
have
it?
to be like eating them. They have to be like,
Oh, that's way better.
yeah, mortar and pestle sort of situation.
For anyone who has to wear like a mouth guard for tooth grinding,
Yeah.
just think about that.
Yeah, exactly.
Think about how much tooth you're eating.
So much tooth. Their teeth grow like 2 millimeters a week, and in terms of like European rabbits, there are only about 2 millimeters erupted over the gum line. So like they're basically replacing their teeth weekly or every couple of weeks.
Not the teeth of Theseus.
Yeah.
Has to be the most unsettling episode.
Yeah, this is my favorite thing. They're very
deeply unsettling.
You look at them and they're really cute and fluffy, and then you think about them too much and you're like, oh no, they run on eating their own teeth and poop and all of that sort of stuff.
On the topic of unsettling things, and this is something you mentioned to me before we hit record, and
Yes.
I really didn't want to move on out of weird body horror stuff.
We love body.
This is the most Junji Ito animal.
Yeah.
Hey friends, we're going to take a quick break to hear from our friends on the Maximum Fun Network. When we get back, we're talking ingenuity and aesthetics for rabbits, so stay right here.
After 400 episodes, the Maximum Film universe is kicking off a brand new phase.
We have got a brand new host, hilarious writer and comedian Kevin Avery.
Hey, that's me.
Kevin's teaming up with me, film critic Alonso Duralde.
And me, producer and film festival programmer Drea Clark.
Together, we're taking on summer blockbuster season by talking about some of the biggest movies in theaters.
That makes this the perfect time to join the Maximum Film Gang.
Reserve your Maximum Film ticket.
Pre-order your Maximum Film custom popcorn bucket.
We're trying to say it's a great time to start listening to the podcast.
So jump back into the continuing adventures of Maximum Film every week on MaximumFun.org.
Hey, do you have a favorite episode of Star Trek?
If you do, you should also have a favorite Star Trek podcast.
Greatest Trek is about all the new streaming Star Trek shows, and it's a great companion to The Greatest Generation, our hit show about back catalog Star Trek that you grew up with.
It's a comedy podcast by two folks who used to be video producers, so it's a serious mix of comedy and insight that fits right into the Maximum Fun network of shows.
And Greatest Trek is one of the most popular Star Trek podcasts in the world.
So if you're following Lower Decks, Prodigy, or Strange New Worlds, come hang out with us every Friday as we roast and review our favorite Star Trek shows.
It's on MaximumFun.org, YouTube, or your podcatching app.
I didn't want to move on from talking about weird body horror stuff without talking about the butt situation.
The butt situation, yeah.
The situation vis-a-vis
There's-
the butt.
There's some things about rabbits where I think that they were just kind of like dropped on this planet as aliens and they didn't do their research super well, and they're like, yeah, no, we're definitely placental mammals. What way does the butt go? In or out? It's out, right? It's out.
They heard rodents described to them.
Yeah, they did. And they tried really hard to be them, and they got a little bit mixed up with marsupials as well, because they're the only placental mammals that have, like, their scrotum is closer to their head than their genitals are, which is a marsupial thing. If you look at, like, kangaroos and stuff like that, their kind of bits are on backwards from a placental mammal perspective, and rabbits are the same. It just sits like slightly ahead of their prepuce, but the prepuce is the technical term. I call it the butt lump. Basically, their
So flattering.
I know. Their external genitalia and also their anus is in a little mound of tissue, and they look quite close, and they've been historically thought to have a cloaca. There's still a whole bunch of stuff that's like, no, hares definitely have cloacas. They don't. Everything just sits really close together and just sticks outwards for some reason. So... like, it's not even like we have a very inny butt because we're built to like run on our very big like leg muscles, upright leg muscles and stuff.
Yeah, like, even for mammals, we have like one of the most inny butts. Like, it's way more than any other animal.
We have incredibly inny butts. And cats and dogs, like, it's a fairly flat, but it is still like it's a little pocket. It's a little bit inny. Rabbits have very much committed to having an outie butt. Outie butthole. If you shave around their bum, it like looks like a little, people are often like, what is that? And I'm like, yeah, that's just all of the bits. Here, it's doing a poop.
Safe search off. Let's go.
Rabbit butt lump.
Rabbit butt. It's the tail is covering it up.
Yeah, it's kind
in
of
most pictures.
It's associated with the tail, so it like runs along the bone of the tail a little bit. I have to send you a photo. Send you some...
Yeah, I'm not getting anything good.
Actually, what I should do is just go and get one of my rabbits. Go and get Poggers. She's a Rex, so it's very, very obvious in her because she's got a really short coat. Oh my god, my partner has gone. I hear you mention Poggers. Here she is. Poggers.
Oh boy, I get to see the baby.
Oh, she hate to be held. This is Poggers. She's beautiful.
Oh, a special guest appearance for... Okay, because people who are listening can't see, I'm looking at a stunning, beautiful, jet black rabbit.
Yeah. Oh, I know, who's grumpy about being here, but that's
Rabbit is
fine.
like, no thank you.
So,
Rabbit is snuggling into the crook of their arm.
Yeah, and doing the last Junji Ito thing that I'll get to in a second. Poggers is a Rex, which is a breed of rabbit who were bred to be meat rabbits and also like hide rabbits, so for their coat. So they're really, 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 really soft, and they don't have the kind of guard hairs that most breeds have, which means that their coat's a little bit easier to see through. I know, I want to show a bum. That's a bum. So
oh my god!
They just have a little. That's her little outie bum hole there.
Oh,
and it just sticks
wow.
In view.
See,
yeah.
Do you get a lot of calls as a vet from people in distress thinking there's something deeply wrong with their rabbit because of their butt looking like that?
Yeah, they have scent glands along the side too, which look like tears in it, essentially. So, yeah, we also get calls about that. Poggers, thank you for showing the risque bits of your anatomy on camera.
Thanks for the show.
Yeah. She's a grumpy kiddo, but yeah.
This rabbit is livid.
I know,
giving you the most extreme side eye.
Yeah,
this rabbit is like, why am I here?
Yeah. She's doing the thing of like kicking the hell out of me like she would if I was a predator trying to catch her. I know, you're off. So the last Junji Ito thing, it's kind of another, like, we're totally mammals, we know how things work. Most animals, when they're adapting to predators with bigger weaponry and stuff like that, go, okay, cool, I started off with this class of armor. I'm going to have thicker skin, heavier armor. I'm going to make some scales. I'm going to have, like, quills and stuff like that. Rabbits go into war with tearaway pants. So their coat just comes out. If you grab a handful of rabbit, you have all of this hair in your hands because their hair just falls out. So if a predator catches them and grabs them, they're going to come away with a mouthful of food. But their skin also tears really easily. So they can, if they grab a decent chunk, a predator, they will just come away with like a shred of skin. And rabbits just run away from that and heal.
They're like, didn't need it.
Yeah,
that's fine.
No, they heal really, 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 really quickly from skin wounds.
Sometimes when you're in a hurry, you got to go without, you know, you got to cut your losses.
Yeah, you just got to like rip your pants off, run away, and that will defend you.
Have you ever been in an awkward social interaction that you wanted to get out of so badly
really
that you
good.
Just rip your clothes off and leave the room?
Yeah, basically. Their coat's really thick. It completely covers the undersides of their feet, so they don't have toe beans. But that means that they don't leave as solid footfalls and stuff like that. So they're harder to hear when they're running around in the undergrowth, and they also don't leave as much tracks. And the females, when they are having babies, have this big roll of skin underneath their neck called a dewlap that they can pull out a whole bunch of fluff from and use to line the nest for their babies to keep them nice and warm.
Well, that's pleasant. That
Yeah,
part's
there we go. We can
nice.
end effectiveness on like a single pleasant thing about rabbits.
You know, a lot of people are more grossed out by hair than I think
Yeah.
I'm maybe a weirdo in that I'm not super grossed out by like hair.
Yeah.
You know, maybe it's because I have very long hair and my hair comes out so much that I'm constantly, and my husband has very long hair too.
Yeah.
And like we're just around shed hair so much that
Yeah.
I think I've become completely desensitized to it.
Yeah.
Where like hair really does not bother me the way it bothers a lot of people. So I feel like it's very cute and endearing because I'm thinking about it in human terms. Like, what if you like made your baby's crib out of just like
Yeah.
you just pull your hair out?
It's really cute. Rabbit nests are so cute and they're so soft and like warm and nice and they look absolutely lovely. And then rabbit mums are some pretty like brutal parents by our standards and stuff, but they've
Ooh.
made a beautiful little nest. And then they're going to bury you in a hole in the ground and only come back like twice a day.
Okay, that's as good a transition as any
Yep.
into ingenuity,
Yep.
which is the second category we rate animals on. I know you mentioned earlier that the rabbits are effectiveness loaded.
Yeah.
Zoe, what do you give rabbits out of 10 for ingenuity?
I've been going backwards and forwards so much about this because I don't think they're very
Keep in mind they're listening; they can hear you.
They're listening. They can hear me. They know where I live because it's where they live. But they also have very smooth brains. So I think most of their ingenuity comes from the fact that they're relentless. And I think that, look, I'm probably going to only give them like a 6.5 for ingenuity and stuff. That thing about like the way that mother rabbits like look after their babies and stuff like that. It's the reason a lot of cottontails get found in people's gardens, because the main thing with our good friends European rabbits, Eryctolagus caniculus, is that they are warren builders. They're the digging hare. They build this complex warren under the ground. And they have this really complex social hierarchy, which you got to give them some ingenuity points for their like doing it there. Most of your other species of rabbits are more, I'll get a little depression in the ground. We all get a little depression sometimes. Get a little place and I'll cover you up with like grass and stuff like that. And it means that a lot of Americans just kind of find them in their lawn or in a pot plant. That's a very
it's
cottontail.
It's a very
thing.
common thing for people to find them while mowing their lawns.
Yeah.
You have to constantly like be on alert.
That's a very cottontail thing. You shouldn't find a European rabbit nest. You might if the female's really low on the social order, they don't get priority spots in the warren for where they can make their nests and stuff. So often they are making like little hollows in outer areas that are a little bit more vulnerable to predators and stuff. But they're still like, they're big diggers. So they're still probably like digging a decent little hole there. And they make their lovely little nest and they bury it. They just like dig all the dirt back onto it and they flat it down. If you've ever watched a rabbit kind of like smooth out a burrow, it's the cutest thing. They like push it like a little bulldozer and then they go flat with their front legs and kind of like stomp it down so that it's like compacted and stuff. And they stay away from the babies for as much of the day as possible. They come back like once or twice a day, dig them all out again, have extremely fast nursing, like a couple of seconds sort of thing. They just like express hose milk for their babies because they have to keep being body horror. It kind of makes it hard to hand rear baby rabbits because they want to drink at a faster volume than you can often provide for them. So they often aspirate because they're just like, they're hard to hand raise. But yeah, express hose feed your children and then bury them in the ground again. So that's great.
Children of the earth.
Yeah, children of the earth. You are potatoes. Go back in there.
My dirt children.
My precious dirt children.
Hair for my dirt children.
Yes.
I had to pull out my hair for my dirt children.
Perfect. But yeah, like European rabbits have this like complex social hierarchy that's sex segregated. So the boys all have one social hierarchy, the girls all have another social hierarchy, which means during the breeding season they don't have to like do as much impressing one another. It's kind of already established. I'm the top boy, I'm going to get the best pick of girls. And when you get further down in the pecking order, you kind of get to some pairs who'll be almost monogamous, essentially, because, like, everyone else thinks they're kind of garbage, so they're just dating each other, which is fine.
Not settling.
No. But within those hierarchies, they can be really, really aggressive. Like, we don't have hamsters here, so I get to say things like, I think they're the most aggressive mammals that we keep as pets. And they're unexpectedly so for a lot of people because they fight really hard in the wild and they will go for each other. Like, I'm currently bonding my two bunnies because I have a new boy who we've adopted recently. And it's a slow process because they can get really mean with one another and they can do a lot of damage. We had a rabbit who came in last week to the clinic it is a dominance behavior and also just a social interaction behavior for them to hump each other, even if they're friends and they're desexed and stuff like that. And this bunny was humping her friend's head, which is not a sensible thing to do.
Impolite.
It's impolite, and also you have an outie bumhole. So if they're not thrilled about what's happening, you have what happened to this bunny, and she had to have surgery to put her bumhole back together.
Oh, honey. Oh, baby, no.
You can't feel that bad because it was right there.
I mean, she put it there.
Yeah.
She put it next to the pointy part.
She did.
She put it next to the glass shredders.
The glass shredder, they're really sharp. And they will do that for each other in the wild as well. Like, they go for the soft, meaty bits. They go for the genitals and stuff like that.
Dirty, low blow.
It is the lowest.
No honor.
They can suck their testicles all the way back up into their body, even as adults, the boys, to protect themselves from that to some degree. But yeah, they will go for it. And they'll fight predators that are, their size or bigger. And there are heaps of videos of, like, rabbits continuing to, like, chase snakes across roads or, like, pull them down from trees because they're not finished teaching them a lesson.
It's about sending a message.
It is. That snake will absolutely never do it again because it has a bunch of holes in it and will probably die from infection.
It's not doing anything ever again.
No, it will regret. But yeah, like, they're very tenacious and very, like, persistent. Some of the old stories about, like, the rabbit-proof fence across Australia and stuff like that were that, like, we just had such high proportions of rabbits that they would just, like, keep building up against the fence that they couldn't dig over or climb under, and they'd kind of die up against it because there wasn't enough food for them. And then eventually there were enough rabbits that you could just climb over the rabbit bodies that were there, and then you were on the other side of the fence.
That's one way to do it.
Yeah, you can make another 50, 60 of you every season. So go for it, my guys.
It's the Attack on Titan sort of.
Yeah, basically.
Got Attack on Titan rabbits.
Yep, and yeah, so, like,
on that day, rabbit kind received a grim reminder.
Yes, yep. They are very kind of practical parents as well. Like, they'll abandon kids similar to, like, rodents and stuff do this as well. And they will reabsorb fetuses if they don't have the resources for them and stuff like that. But, like, everything kind of comes back to how effective they are again. In terms of more of their behavior things, part of the reason why I gave them kind of a low score is, again, looking at my beautiful bun child and knowing that she kind of has, like, 5 problem-solving strategies, and those strategies are, can I dig through it? Can I bite through it? Can I pick it up and throw it somewhere? Can I kick the pants off it? Or can I, like, shove it away? And if they can't solve a problem with those, they're probably just going to wait for enough rabbits to pile up against the fence and give them another way of doing things, to be honest.
If you're going to be stupid, be many.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, very good at that. They have an absolutely terrifying scream if they're in a lot of distress that I think changes you as a person to hear it. It sounds like a child. It's really bad. It's a really, like, shriek. It's very shrill and high-pitched kind of shrieking noise.
And how could you do that to the sweet little face?
Yeah, and they usually won't do it unless they are really, 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 really scared. And it's like a scare every rabbit that can hear it in the vicinity. They do a lot more, like, alert calls and stuff like that with thumping and percussive noise. And they'll do that to, if you keep them in your home, they'll do that to you because they're annoyed that you haven't fed them soon enough, or you stood near them too closely to them or something like that, like Poggers.
Clearly a comparable threat.
Yeah, very comparable. Fortunately, they don't do the screaming for that sort of thing, because God. But they also like flash their little white tails at each other so that you can see that visual signal from a distance. So they can communicate a lot in terms of tail flashes and stuff like that about danger, or about like, hi, I'm a super sexy potential boyfriend and I'm going to do this little dance where I flick my tail all around, or
I was about to say, it sounds kind of like they're mooning each other.
Yeah,
which
a
is...
little bit, because of the butt lump situation, of course. Or like, my tail's really, really high up and I'm showing that I'm angry at you, don't come near me. And so they do a decent amount of like that sort of communication. They do a lot of pee-based communication. They do a lot of like,
of course,
scent marking things. They will pee on each other as a flirting behavior, which is really great.
Who doesn't like that?
It's
I mean,
really
that's first
good.
date stuff, right?
Yeah,
You gotta...
it very much is for them, which they're good to toilet train as pets, but it does mean that it's hard to kind of convince them, like, if there's a place in the house like the lounge or the bed that smells like you and they're part of the family and they want it to also smell like them, they're like, cool, I'll do a wee here. And you're like, stop, please. And they like playing with things. They're very curious. They like finding textures that they enjoy chewing on and stuff like that, kind of stimming with things. Most rabbits will eat the power buttons off your remote control because it seems to be a texture that they like. They love eating power cords, spicy hay, it gets called. They love to eat leather bags and stuff like that because I think it all feels very similar, and you can tell them no. And they definitely understand no, because when they're happy, they do a little thing called a binky where they do a little head toss, and sometimes they throw themselves in the air, and it's a sign that they're kind of overwhelmingly happy, which is really lovely. And it's fun because it means you can tell what their sense of humor is. And it's always terrible. They always have a terrible sense of humor. They think it's really funny to be told off, and they'll do a binky and they'll run away, and then you'll turn around and they'll be back there. And they'll see you notice them and they'll be like, haha, I go away again. So they understand the concept of no.
YouTube pranks.
Yeah. They understand the concept of no, but they're not dogs who have like this whole social cohesion thing. You have to like work together as a team to be an effective hunter and stuff like that. So all of their like social communication is about building that teamwork and that trust and stuff. So you tell a dog no and they're like, oh, cool. I have like the instincts from when I was a wolf to like cooperatively work around what is the best thing to do in this situation. And rabbits are like, haha, if you really cared so much about putting a restriction here, you'd beat me up, because that's how my social hierarchy works. You're not doing it. I think it's really funny for you to just make noise at me about it, so I'm going to keep doing it.
Like, oh, when I do this thing, you make a fun sound.
Yeah, you make a fun sound, and sometimes you like tempt me over somewhere else to have a treat somewhere else. But I remember that
I'm going to keep pressing the make a weird sound button.
Yeah, basically. And like, it was fun. I'm doing it because it's fun. It's fun for me to eat through your drywall or your like lounge. Like pull all the stuffing out of a pillow and stuff like that. That's great.
It's because they crave that fiberglass.
Yeah,
exactly. They're after the wall meat.
They crave chaos. So for all that, like, they're not necessarily the most brainy creatures. Like, they have curiosity and they have adaptability and, you know, they have tenacity. So like they're getting it done. They're relying more on absolutely stacking their character build than needing to do a huge amount of like metagaming, because they did all the metagaming at the beginning where they were like, actually I'm allowed to roll weighted d20s for all of my stats.
Point by who? Never heard of her.
And also I've built an eldritch horror creature that looks like a stuffed toy for a child. So I don't actually have to concentrate on having a lot of like strategies for getting through the puzzle room. I'm going to eat my way through it. It's fine. Or just make more of me and one of us will get out of here.
Flood the room with rabbits, and then eventually
basically
one of us will hit the solution.
Yeah, it's perfect.
Now, on the topic of them looking like a toy for a child, the final category that we rate animals on is aesthetics. How nice is this animal to look at? Zoe, what do you give rabbits out of 10 for aesthetics?
They're perfect. I think all lagomorphs are perfect. Pikers are so cute. They're little like nuggets.
There's a reason they're like mascots and
Yeah.
like logos and icons for stuff.
Yeah,
Like there's
yeah.
a reason they're depicted so heavily.
Yeah, very much so. And like rabbits and hares, like the internet loves to talk about like the scale of like how much existential horror, awareness of existential horror in the universe have you got. And it's like cute fluffy bunny and like strung out jackrabbit and stuff like that. The cute fluffy bunnies also have, you know, the existential horror. They're just smaller and it's all like compacted into that. Basically, they are all equally unhinged, but art kind of falls along that line as well. So like all art of rabbits and stuff like that is either really saccharine, like white fluffy bunnies, Beatrix Potter sort of like dresses and stuff like that, to Watership Down type and beyond type horror where people are making like emblematic hares, like heraldic hares and stuff, where the art is like a black and white like lino cut and they're bisected at like the head and all of their limbs are detached and they've got 3 arrows going through their chest and stuff like that, like really scary and stuff. And I tend to lean more to that aesthetic because I'm a weirdo.
I do like the weird stuff. Yeah.
I like the weird stuff, but like your crazy looking leporids, like your jackrabbits and stuff like that, they're great. Like they look really cursed. Their ears are huge and their legs are huge, and watching them move is really weird. They run faster up hills than down hills because their legs are so much longer, which is a strategy for getting away from predators. But it makes them very unsettling to watch. The way their head is positioned makes them kind of unsettling to watch if you look at them too closely. But then your rabbits just have that a little bit more scaled down. But they also, again, evolution gave them all of the things that we as humans find cute and like neoteny and stuff like that. They've got the big eyes and they've got like soft kind of like cute ears and they've got a really round fluffy face and they've got a round fluffy body and everything like that. And you can't see the horrors under all of that. You don't see the teeth very much. Rabbits like having a like open mouth snarl and going for each other is pretty scary looking. You can't look it up because you'll just get pictures of them yawning, which is also kind of scary looking.
I like hiding your horrors.
Yeah. And they've hidden their horrors under the fluff a lot. They're very similar to birds in that way, where you don't get a good sense for how big they are or like how their legs are sitting. Rexes are a pretty good example of that because they've got the shorter coat. And there are some breeds of rabbits that they've tried to breed with the Rex coat but still keep the really fluffy, round little lop face that people really like. And they found that as soon as you make the coat short, they just look like goblins because they don't have a lot of fat on their body. It's really just, it's fluff, skin, muscle, bone under there. So like you can see all the angles and edges of their skull and everything like that as soon as you
oh no, go back.
Go back.
I don't want to see that much.
You're trying to justify a 10 out of 10 for aesthetics.
I don't want to see that much of you.
No.
Now, how do you feel about the Easter bilby? Because I've heard that there's a push for the Easter bilby.
I very much like the Easter bilby a lot more. I'm also Jewish, so I scour all of the Easter stuff to try to find rabbit art that doesn't have eggs in it.
It's like how we are for like getting bat merch when it's Halloween.
Yeah.
When Halloween is when we get all the bat merch and try to look for one that doesn't have pumpkins on it so I can use it all year.
Yeah, very much so. But yeah, like anything that's like raising money for our endangered animals and trying to like, I see wild rabbits on the side of the road and I'm like, please live a happy and celibate life where you don't destroy too many things. And it's completely unrealistic.
Please take a vow of chastity.
Yeah, it'd be so nice. You're so happy. I can see you doing binkies as I drive past like 80 kilometers an hour down the highway, but I can see you having a great time in that little patch of grass that I go past.
If we could have like a rabbit convent.
Yeah.
Or like a rabbit monastery.
Yeah.
Where
yeah, that's what we need. We need to like, this is my asexual agenda is like,
the rabbit
teach
monastery.
the rabbits to just, can you not? But like
teach them piety.
Yeah, teach them piety. No, they are much more. They are too chaotic. They are not aligned with a loving God. I love them. Even in Watership Down, like they were tricksters, and in a lot of their media, like they're trickster gods and stuff. A lot of their mythology historically, they've been trickster gods, and like Bugs Bunny is like the modern equivalent of all of their kind of mythological representations, and it's not far off. And like all of the stuff in Watership Down, also really not far off.
They certainly weren't forged in heaven.
No, and I love them for it. They are, just absolute goblins with the face of angels. And really lovely little soft tongues. If they're your friends, they'll give you little kisses, but like they're not slobbery like a dog or scratchy like a cat. And they're weird pets. They follow you around like a cat, and they're like, "Oh yeah, I'm just in this room for unrelated reasons for you." Even though she was really mad at me, Poggers is still in the room with me. She's gone to sleep in the doorway, which she does because she's on guard. She's like watching to make sure nothing comes into the room that she's not noticing.
It's like my cat who keeps pretending that he's like annoyed and doesn't care about us, but is always somehow in the same room as us at all times. And I'm like, there's so many rooms.
Yeah, you could
There's
be
so
anywhere.
many rooms in this house.
No, I'm just...
And you want to be in the one I'm in.
Purely by coincidence, I'm just also here.
I'm just also within 10 feet of you at all times.
Yeah, they're very like that. But that's also the thing with like the pet bunny who, you said was at the school, probably would have just been doing our loop of the room to make sure that check everything's safe, pull on this, make sure there's no danger coming from this shoelace or anything like that. Maybe also it's funny because the kid makes a squeaky noise when I try to eat their shoes. Very, very good. We'll remember that for later, come back to it. So yeah, like living with them and being around them and stuff like that very endearing kind of chaos is great too. But like you have to know what you're prepared for because they are hard to get used to on a social level compared to dogs and stuff. So they get abandoned a lot and people don't get to know them. And once you get to know them, they are so funny to be around. But if you don't, they're just kind of a whirlwind of chaos that's going to eat everything you love and pee on your bed.
I also feel like, while yes, there are many things about them that are deeply, deeply unsettling and like viscerally horrifying.
Yep.
First of all, for the sickos and freaks, that's like icing on the cake, right?
Yeah.
It's like, I'm already sold.
Yeah.
Like that's just icing on the cake. That's gravy. Love it. Like you were already adorable. Now you're telling me you're a horrifying freak too?
Yeah.
What can't she do?
You're already adorable, but 12 centimeters of teeth a year? Cool.
Get you a pet who can do both.
Yeah, exactly.
But also, I think there's a lesson there in loving them with all of their traits.
Yeah, and I think they're a good lesson in learning to love and communicate creatures that don't interact with us the way we expect all creatures to interact with us. Like,
right.
I'm autistic. A lot of people will get small animals for autistic kids, and I don't necessarily, even though that's why I'm here, I don't necessarily think that that's the right thing to do, but kind of because a lot of people go into raising an autistic kid being like, well, you have to meet these levels of communication and social norms and stuff like that. And having a rabbit is very much, as opposed to having a dog, which will work with you in, like, they evolved eyebrows so they can speak the same body language as us. Having a rabbit is an exercise in going, okay, what are your needs? How do you communicate those needs to me? How can we meet in the middle so that we coexist in a way where we both love each other and are happy and enriching each other's lives? And I think that if people could kind of come at interacting with other people who communicate in different ways or have brains that work in different ways or have cultures that are different to yours, if we could come at those sort of experiences from the sort of empathy that you really need to build in to have a fulfilling relationship with a pet rabbit, we'd be a much better world. I don't necessarily think everyone should be getting pet rabbits to practice being better and more empathetic people with, because they're fairly unforgiving in that regard. But I think that, like, the sorts of things that you have to develop to be able to build a bond with these ultimately, like, really aggressive little prey animals who don't speak a language that's comparable to you. They're really highly strung, hyperfixating, stimmy little routine-bound creatures. I've had people be like, if I vaccinate my rabbit, will it get autistic? And I'm like, no, I'm autistic. Me touching it will make it autistic. Also, it's a non-verbal, like, routine, delighting, like, it's already autistic, my friend. This is a very relatable animal to me. But, like, I think that the skills that you have to build up to be able to have a fulfilling life with them if we all built those skills up more and like went into the world treating each other with the sorts of willingness to give a little ground to understand someone else. I think the world would be a better place.
Absolutely.
So yeah, they're good.
For sure. Yeah, and thank you for saying that. That was very well put. What a cool insight into, the sort of lessons we can learn from our relationships to animals. For anybody listening who wants to hear more from you or wants to see, more of the work that you do, is there anywhere where we would like for people to go next after this? So anywhere you would like people to find you online?
I have a Blue Sky. It's not free from swears and things like that. I'm Zoeology at Blue Sky, whatever the Blue Sky ending is. Yeah, that's kind of it, really.
Well, we'll have links to it in the episode description, so anybody who wants to follow along with what you're up to can go check that out. Zoe, this has been an amazing time. Thank you so much for teaching me even the things that I did not want to know.
Yep, hopefully I've completely ruined that introduction to cute, fluffy, lovable animals.
Did not want to know, and yet specifically expressly asked for it.
Yeah.
So it was at least solicited. Thank you so much for spending this time with us. I had a wonderful time, and we'll talk to you later.
See you.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you all so much for listening. I hope that the hidden darkness of rabbits has only made you love them more completely. If you liked what you heard, I hope you leave behind some kind words for us in a review on your podcast app of choice. If you'd like to hang out with us online, we're on Facebook, Instagram, and Discord. Links to everything will be in the episode description. You can also send me an email at ellen@justthezooofus.com if you have a cool animal you'd like to hear us talk about on the show. We would like to thank Maximum Fun for having us on their network alongside their other wonderful shows like the ones that you heard promos for here today. You can go check those out and learn more about the network and how you can be a part of supporting our show over at MaximumFun.org. Finally, we'd like to thank Louis Zong for our theme music. That's all for today. We'll see you next week. Thanks. Bye.
Maximum Fun,
a worker-owned network
of artist-owned shows.
Supported
directly
by you.